The galaxy had always known about the veil. For more than 10,000 years, every species that could travel between stars had seen the same strange thing in space. It was a huge area about 30 light-years across, located in the outer edge of the Orion Arm. Ships that went near it would lose power. Their computers would stop working. Some ships went in and never came back. No one knew why. The Galactic Council had marked it as a danger zone centuries ago. They told everyone to stay away. No one was allowed to go there. Over the years, stories grew about what the veil might be. Some alien races thought it was a hole in space itself. Others believed it was the tomb of an ancient god who had died long ago. Some said it was a weapon left over from a war that happened before anyone could remember. But no one really knew the truth. No one had ever made it through the veil and come back to tell what was inside. Captain Daniel Crawford was different from most explorers. He did not like mysteries that stayed mysteries. For 23 years, he had worked for the Galactic Survey Corps. His job was to explore strange places and find answers to questions no one else could answer. He had mapped dangerous nebulae where radiation could kill a person in seconds. He had made first contact with primitive alien species who had never seen technology before. He had survived black holes, solar flares, and cosmic storms that would have destroyed other ships. But the veil was special. It called to him in a way he could not explain. Every time he looked at the star maps, his eyes went to that empty spot where the veil sat waiting. His ship was called the Horizon's Edge. It was not the biggest ship in the fleet, but it was fast and tough. More importantly, it had a crew that Crawford trusted with his life. Lieutenant Helen Morris ran the tactical station. She was the best officer Crawford had ever worked with. Her reflexes were incredibly fast and she never panicked, even when death was seconds away. She had saved the ship more times than Crawford could count. When weapons were fired at them, Morris could dodge them. When sensors picked up danger, Morris saw it first. Chief Engineer Kevin Palmer kept the ship running. He was a genius with machines. Palmer could fix a broken fusion reactor with spare parts and a welding torch. He knew every pipe, every wire, and every circuit in the ship. When something broke, which happened often in deep space, Palmer would disappear into the engine room and come back hours later with grease on his face and the problem solved. He never complained and never gave up. Dr. Lisa Bennett was the ship's xenobiologist. She studied alien life forms. Bennett had 3 degrees and had published more research papers than anyone else her age. But what made her valuable was her curiosity. She asked questions about everything. She wanted to know how things worked, why they existed, and what they meant. When the crew found something strange, Bennett would study it for days until she understood it. Crawford liked having her on the ship because she reminded him why exploration mattered. The 4 of them had been together for 7 years. They knew each other's habits, strengths, and weaknesses. They worked like a single organism, each person doing their part without needing to be told. Crawford trusted them completely, which was why he had brought them on this mission. They were going to do something that had been forbidden for 10,000 years. They were going to enter the veil. The Horizon's Edge moved slowly toward the boundary. Crawford had planned everything carefully. The ship's shields were at maximum strength, drawing so much power that the lights had been dimmed to save energy. Every sensor was active, scanning on every frequency the ship could detect. The navigation computer had emergency jump coordinates already locked in. If anything went wrong, if the ship was damaged, or if they detected a threat, they could activate the faster-than-light drive and escape in less than 2 seconds. Crawford sat in his command chair, watching the view screen. The veil was visible even without sensors. It looked like a shimmer in space, like heat waves rising from hot ground on a summer day. The stars beyond it seemed to ripple and bend. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Morris spoke from her station, her voice calm and professional. "Radiation levels are increasing, Captain, but the radiation is not dangerous. The energy pattern is strange. It looks almost like it is trying to protect something." Crawford leaned forward. "Protect something? What do you mean?" Morris touched her controls, bringing up data on one of the side screens. "The energy is not random, sir. It has a pattern, a very complex pattern. This is not natural. Something built this. Someone created the veil on purpose." The words hung in the air. Everyone on the bridge stopped what they were doing and looked at Morris. If the veil was artificial, then everything changed. It meant someone had built a barrier around this section of space. It meant someone had hidden something inside for 10,000 years. The question was who and why. Crawford made his decision. Take us in. Slowly. 1% thrust only. If anything happens, anything at all, we reverse course immediately. The helmsman acknowledged the order. The ship moved forward, crawling toward the shimmering boundary. Every eye was on the view screen. Every hand was ready to act. The horizon's edge crossed the threshold. Alarms screamed. Every warning system on the ship activated at once. Red lights flashed. The sound was deafening. Then, just as suddenly as it started, everything stopped. The alarms went silent. The red lights turned off. The view screen flickered once, twice, and then showed something that made everyone forget to breathe. Stars. Hundreds of them packed together more tightly than they should be. In the center of the display was a yellow sun, medium-sized and ordinary-looking. Around it orbited several planets. The third planet from the sun was different from the others. It glowed blue and green. Oceans covered most of its surface. Clouds swirled in the atmosphere. Ice caps sat at both poles. Bennett gasped. Her hands flew across her controls, bringing up data faster than Crawford had ever seen her work. "Life signs," she said, her voice shaking. "Captain, that planet is covered in life. I'm reading massive amounts of biological activity. The atmosphere has 21% oxygen. There are plants, animals, and the diversity is incredible. I have never seen anything like this." Morris checked her tactical display, then checked it again, not believing what she was seeing. "Captain, there are artificial structures in orbit, satellites, space stations. I'm also detecting debris that looks like old spacecraft, primitive designs but definitely made by intelligent beings. This civilization has achieved space travel." Crawford felt his heart pounding. This was impossible. A hidden planet. A species that had developed completely cut off from the rest of the galaxy. No one had made contact with them. No one had shared technology with them. They had done everything alone. This was the greatest discovery in the history of space exploration. "Launch a probe," Crawford ordered. "I want full analysis. Atmosphere, surface features, population centers, technology level, everything." The probe shot out from the ship's launch bay. It was small and fast, covered in sensors and cameras. It fell toward the planet, entering the atmosphere with a burst of heat and friction. As it descended, it began sending back information. Lots of information. Too much information. The data was overwhelming. Cities covered the continents. Huge cities with millions of buildings. Roads connected them, ribbons of black stone stretching for thousands of miles. Railways carried cargo and passengers. Aircraft filled the skies, metal machines with wings that somehow managed to fly. The inhabitants were bipedal, walking on two legs. They had 2 arms, 2 eyes, and stood between 5 and 6 feet tall. Their skin came in different shades. Their features varied widely. They wore clothes and built homes and created art. But what shocked the crew the most was what the probe discovered when it hacked into the planet's communication networks. The species had something they called the Internet. It was a global network of computers, all connected, all sharing information. The probe's translation software worked frantically, decoding languages, understanding context, learning how these beings communicated. Within an hour, the probe had accessed billions of documents, images, videos, and files. It had learned the complete history of this species. They called themselves humans. Their planet was named Earth. They had no idea that other intelligent species existed. Their entire civilization had grown and developed inside this hidden pocket of space, and their history was violent and tragic and inspiring all at the same time. The humans had nearly destroyed themselves dozens of times. Wars had killed millions. Diseases had swept across continents. Natural disasters had wiped out entire populations. They had created weapons that could destroy their whole planet in hours. Nuclear bombs, biological weapons, chemical agents that could kill every living thing. But somehow they had survived. Every time they fell, they got back up. Every time they faced extinction, they found a way to continue. Bennett stared at her screen, reading through the data with tears in her eyes. "Captain, you need to see this. Their rate of technological progress is insane. 200 years ago, they were still using horses for transportation. 100 years ago, they achieved powered flight. 70 years ago, they split the atom. 50 years ago, they landed on their moon. 20 years ago, they built a global computer network. 10 years ago, they started sequencing their own DNA. They have accomplished in decades what most species take thousands of years to achieve. Crawford moved to her station and looked at the data himself. It was true. The humans had developed nuclear power, space travel, quantum computing, genetic engineering, and artificial intelligence in less than a single century. Their progress was not steady and slow like other species. It came in bursts of incredible creativity followed by periods of conflict and recovery. They seemed to thrive on challenge. The harder things became, the faster they innovated. Palmer spoke up from the engineering station. Their energy production is inefficient but improving rapidly. They are still burning fossil fuels for most of their power, but they are building solar panels and wind turbines. They have nuclear reactors. Some of their scientists are working on fusion power. If they succeed, they will have virtually unlimited clean energy. Morris had been studying the military data. Her expression was serious. "Captain, I need to show you something. This species is heavily militarized. I'm detecting thousands of military bases across the planet. They have standing armies numbering in the millions. They have navies with ships that carry aircraft. They have submarines that can stay underwater for months. They have missiles that can reach any point on the planet in 30 minutes. And they have nuclear weapons. Thousands of them." Crawford felt a chill. First contact with a warlike species was always dangerous. Humans were aggressive. If they saw other species as threats, it could lead to disaster. But as he read through more of their communications, he saw something else. Yes, they had weapons. Yes, they had armies, but they also had art that could make you cry. They had music that could lift your spirit. They wrote stories about hope and love and sacrifice. They built hospitals to heal the sick. They created schools to educate their children. They were contradictory, violent yet compassionate, destructive yet creative. They were capable of great evil and great good, often at the same time. "What about their governments?" Crawford asked. "Are they united?" Morris shook her head. "No, sir. They are divided into almost 200 separate nation-states. Each one has its own government, its own military, its own laws. Some of them are allies. Some of them are enemies. Some of them are actively fighting wars right now. They have never achieved global unity." That was troubling. A fractured species with advanced weapons could be incredibly unstable, but Crawford noticed something else in the data. Despite their divisions, the humans cooperated on many things. They had international organizations that promoted peace. They had treaties that limited weapons. They had scientific projects where researchers from different nations worked together. They traded goods and shared knowledge. They were learning slowly how to live together. Bennett brought up images on the main screen. Pictures of Earth taken from space. The blue oceans, the green forests, the brown deserts, the white ice caps. It was beautiful. "Captain, I have been analyzing their biology. Humans are remarkably adaptable. They live in every climate zone on the planet. Frozen tundra, hot deserts, dense jungles, high mountains, even underground in some cases. They can survive almost anywhere. Their immune systems are incredibly robust. They can eat a huge variety of foods. Their endurance is exceptional. I found records of humans running for days without stopping. They heal from injuries that would kill other species. They are survivors in the truest sense." Palmer added more information. "Their manufacturing capability is impressive for their technology level. They can produce complex machines in massive quantities. Cars, aircraft, computers, weapons, all mass-produced in factories that run day and night. Their infrastructure is extensive. Roads, bridges, tunnels, power grids, water systems. They have built a civilization that supports billions of individuals." Crawford sat back down in his command chair, trying to process everything. A hidden species, isolated for 10,000 years, technologically primitive but advancing rapidly, fractured politically but capable of cooperation, violent but also compassionate. Everything about the humans was contradictory and confusing and fascinating. "We need to contact the Galactic Council," Crawford said finally. "This discovery changes everything, but we need to be very careful. If we tell the humans about the galaxy before they are ready, it could destroy their civilization. The shock alone might cause wars, riots, mass panic. And if we tell the galaxy about the humans without helping the council understand them, it could lead to fear and aggression. Some species will see the humans as a threat. Morris nodded in agreement. Captain, there is one more thing you should know. I have been analyzing the Veil's energy signature in detail. The barrier is failing. The technology that created it is breaking down. I estimate it has maybe 5 years left, 10 at the most. After that, the Veil will collapse on its own. When that happens, the humans will be visible to every ship that passes through this region. First contact will happen whether we want it to or not. Crawford looked at the planet on the view screen. Earth. Home to billions of humans who had no idea they were about to be discovered. They lived their lives, went to work, raised families, never knowing that above them, beyond their atmosphere in the darkness of space, their isolation was ending. He thought about what would happen when the Veil fell. Merchant ships would detect Earth. Pirates might come looking for an easy target. Other explorers would arrive. The Galactic Council would have to make decisions. Would they welcome the humans? Would they try to control them? Would they see them as equals or as primitives who needed to be managed? And what about the humans themselves? How would they react when they learned the truth? That they were not alone, that the galaxy was filled with hundreds of intelligent species, that there were civilizations millions of years old, that everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe was wrong. Some would be excited. Scientists would want to learn everything. Philosophers would want to discuss the implications. Dreamers would want to explore the stars, but others would be afraid. Religious leaders might see it as a threat to their beliefs. Military commanders might prepare for invasion. Politicians might try to use the news to gain power. The discovery could unite the humans or tear them apart. Crawford made a decision. Open a secure channel to Galactic Council headquarters. Priority 1. I need to speak with the High Council immediately. It took several minutes to establish the connection. The horizon's edge was far from the center of galactic civilization. The signal had to be boosted and relayed through several stations, but eventually a response came through. The High Council would convene an emergency session. They wanted Crawford's full report. They wanted all the data the probe had gathered, and they wanted it immediately. Crawford spent the next 4 hours preparing the report. He included everything: the discovery of the Veil's artificial nature, the finding of Earth, the analysis of human civilization, the technological assessments, the cultural studies, the biological data, everything. He did not leave anything out because he knew the council needed complete information to make good decisions. When he finished, he transmitted the report and waited. The council would need time to review everything. They would argue and debate. They would bring in experts. They would study the data from every angle. Crawford knew the process. He had made important discoveries before, though never anything like this. While they waited for a response, the crew continued to study Earth. Bennett focused on human biology and evolution. She discovered that humans had evolved from primitive ape-like creatures over millions of years. The process had been slow and difficult. Many species had gone extinct. Only the humans had survived. They had developed large brains, complex language, and the ability to make tools. These advantages had allowed them to dominate their planet. Palmer studied human technology. He was impressed by their engineering despite its primitive nature. They had built structures that touched the clouds. They had created machines that could fly faster than sound. They had developed computers that could perform billions of calculations per second. They were creative and determined, always pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Morris analyzed human military capabilities. She found them both impressive and troubling. The humans had fought countless wars. They had developed tactics and strategies refined over thousands of years of conflict. Their weapons were crude compared to galactic standards, but effective. A nuclear weapon might not destroy a shielded starship, but it could devastate a city. The humans knew how to kill, and they were good at it. Crawford spent his time reading human literature and watching their entertainment. He wanted to understand how they thought, what they valued, what they feared. He read their novels and watched their films. He studied their art and listened to their music. What he found surprised him. The humans were obsessed with contact with alien life. Hundreds of their stories dealt with the idea. Sometimes the aliens were friendly visitors bringing knowledge and peace. Sometimes they were hostile invaders trying to conquer Earth. Sometimes they were incomprehensible beings beyond human understanding. The humans had spent decades imagining what contact would be like. They had thought about it, dreamed about it, feared it, and hoped for it, but they had never actually experienced it. Crawford wondered what they would think if they knew the truth, that aliens were real, that the galaxy was watching them, that their isolation was about to end. Would they be happy or terrified? Would they reach out with open arms or closed fists? 6 hours after sending the report, Crawford received a response. The Galactic Council wanted the Horizon's Edge to remain in position and continue observing Earth. They were sending a larger fleet with diplomats, scientists, and military advisors. The fleet would arrive in 2 weeks. Until then, Crawford was ordered to maintain strict observation protocols. No contact with the humans, no interference with their civilization. Just watch and learn. Crawford acknowledged the orders. 2 weeks. 14 days to study a species that had been hidden for 10,000 years. It was not enough time, but it was what they had. The crew settled into a routine. They watched Earth rotate below them. They monitored human communications. They studied their cities and their ships and their lives, and they waited for the fleet to arrive. During those 2 weeks, Crawford learned things about humans that the data could not show. He watched a human doctor work for 36 hours straight to save patients during a natural disaster. He saw human engineers design a new kind of engine that would make space travel cheaper and safer. He observed human teachers patiently explaining difficult concepts to children who struggled to understand. He watched human artists create beautiful things for no reason except that beauty mattered to them. He also saw the darker side. Wars continued in several regions. People starved while others wasted food. Corruption and greed destroyed lives. The environment suffered from pollution and exploitation. Humans could be cruel to each other in ways that shocked even Crawford, who had seen many species at their worst. But what struck him most was their resilience. No matter how bad things got, humans kept going. They faced problems that would have broken other species, and they endured. When disaster struck, they helped each other. When challenges arose, they worked together to solve them. They fell down, but they always got back up. Always. On the 14th day, the fleet arrived. 12 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Crawford recognized several of them: the diplomatic cruiser Concordance, the science vessel Discovery, the military escort ships that would protect the others, and leading them all, the flagship of the Galactic Council itself, Unity. Crawford received a transmission from the Unity. He was ordered to report aboard immediately for a full briefing. He left Morris in command of the Horizon's Edge and took a shuttle to the flagship. As he flew across space toward the massive vessel, he looked back at Earth one last time. The small blue planet that had been hidden for so long. The home of billions of humans who were about to have their entire understanding of the universe changed forever. He wondered if they were ready. He wondered if anyone could ever be ready for something like this. But ready or not, first contact was coming. The age of human isolation was ending, and nothing would ever be the same again. The shuttle docked with the Unity, and Crawford made his way through the massive flagship. The ship was enormous, bigger than some cities. Its corridors stretched for miles. Thousands of beings from dozens of species worked aboard, all dedicated to maintaining peace and order in the galaxy. Crawford had been here before, but it never failed to impress him. He was escorted to the council chamber, a huge circular room with seats arranged in tiers. Representatives from every major species sat waiting. At the center was Speaker Velcris, an ancient being whose crystalline body sparkled in the light. Velcris had led the council for over 200 years. His wisdom was legendary and his patience was infinite. "Captain Crawford," Velcris said, his voice like music played on crystal bells. "Your report has caused quite a disturbance. Please tell us everything you observed." Crawford stepped forward. For the next hour he spoke. He described the Veil and how it was failing. He explained the discovery of Earth and the humans who lived there. He detailed their technology, their culture, their history, and their nature. He showed them images and videos. He presented data and analysis. He held nothing back. When he finished, the chamber was silent. The representatives looked at each other, uncertain what to say. Finally, Ambassador Krell of the Draconians spoke. The Draconians were a warrior race, proud and fierce. These humans are dangerous. They fight constantly. They have weapons that could kill millions. We should quarantine their system and prevent them from ever leaving their world. Quarantine an entire species. Ambassador Quinn Hayes stood up. Crawford had not noticed her before, but now he looked at her closely. Hayes was human, or at least she looked human. Crawford knew there were a few humans scattered throughout the galaxy, found as infants in abandoned ships over the years. Hayes must be one of them. You want to imprison billions of people because you are afraid of what they might do. Krell's scales rippled with anger. I want to protect the galaxy from a species that clearly cannot control its violent impulses. Look at their history. War after war. Destruction after destruction. They are not ready for the responsibility that comes with space travel. Hayes stepped closer to the center of the chamber. Every species has a violent past. The Draconians had civil wars that lasted centuries. The Zentari nearly exterminated themselves with biological weapons. The Korthans fought a war that destroyed 3 of their colony worlds. But you all overcame those challenges and joined the galactic community. Why should humans be denied the same chance? Another voice joined the debate. Ambassador Torin of the Lyrians was known for his careful, measured approach to problems. The question is not whether humans deserve a chance. The question is whether we have the right to make that decision for them. They do not know we exist. They have not asked to join us. Perhaps we should respect their isolation and leave them alone. Leave them alone. Bennett's voice came from a side entrance. Crawford turned and saw his science officer standing there, along with Morris and Palmer. They must have been invited to provide technical expertise. Bennett walked forward, her face determined. The veil is collapsing. In 5 years, maybe less, Earth will be visible to everyone. When that happens, someone will make contact. If it is not us, it might be pirates, scavengers, or worse. Would you rather humans meet the galaxy through violence than through a peaceful, controlled introduction? Speaker Velcris raised one crystalline limb, calling for silence. These are all valid points. But we must consider the humans themselves. Captain Crawford, in your observation of their world, did you see any indication that they are ready for this knowledge? Any sign that learning about the galaxy would not destroy their civilization? Crawford thought carefully before answering. Speaker, the humans are contradictory. They are violent but also peaceful. They are destructive but also creative. They fight wars but also write poetry. They build weapons but also hospitals. I cannot say with certainty how they will react. Some will welcome contact. Others will fear it, but I can say this, they are survivors. Whatever happens, they will endure. Velcris considered this. And what of their unity? A species divided against itself cannot speak with one voice. How can we negotiate with 200 separate governments? Morris stepped forward. Speaker, if I may. The humans are learning to cooperate. Yes, they have many governments, but they also have international organizations. They have treaties and agreements. They trade with each other. They work together on scientific projects. They are not unified, but they are moving in that direction. Contact with the galaxy might actually speed that process. Nothing unites people faster than realizing they are part of something larger. The debate continued for hours. Some species argued for immediate contact. Others wanted complete isolation. Some suggested establishing a perimeter around Earth and waiting until the humans developed faster than light travel on their own. Others proposed sending a single message and letting the humans decide if they wanted to respond. Finally, Dr. Raymond Foster stood up. Crawford recognized him from his research into xenopsychology. Foster was human, like Hayes, one of the diaspora. He was young but brilliant, and his work on first contact protocols was respected throughout the galaxy. I have studied every first contact scenario in recorded history, Foster said. I have analyzed what works and what fails, and I can tell you this, secrecy always fails. Isolation always fails. When we try to hide the truth from a species, when we try to control their development, it always leads to disaster. The only approach that consistently succeeds is honesty. He paused, letting his words sink in. We should contact the humans. We should tell them the truth about the galaxy. We should show them what exists beyond their world, and then we should give them a choice. Join us when they are ready or continue their development alone. But whatever they choose, they deserve to make that choice with full knowledge of their options. Velcris nodded slowly. A reasonable proposal, but who should make this contact? Who should carry this message to Earth? Hayes spoke up immediately. Humans should contact humans. Send those of us from the diaspora. We know both worlds. We understand galactic civilization, but we also share their biology, their basic nature. If Earth is going to learn about the galaxy, they should hear it from their own kind. The proposal sparked new discussions. Some representatives liked the idea. Others worried that humans from the diaspora had been too changed by galactic culture. They might not truly understand Earth anymore. But gradually, a consensus emerged. The contact team would be led by humans, but it would include representatives from other species as well. It would show Earth that the galaxy was diverse and that humans had a place in it. Speaker Velcris made the final decision. Very well. We will make contact. Ambassador Hayes will lead the delegation. She will select her team, including both human and non-human members. They will approach Earth's governments through encrypted communications, provide proof of the galaxy's existence, and invite them to a meeting in neutral space. Captain Crawford, your ship will remain on station to provide support and observation. Are there any objections? There were many, but none strong enough to override the speaker's decision. The vote was called and the proposal passed. Contact would be made within 30 days. Earth was about to learn the truth. After the session ended, Crawford found himself in a quiet observation lounge with Hayes, Foster, and his own crew. They stood together, looking out at the stars, each lost in their own thoughts. "This is really happening," Bennett said softly. "We are about to change human history forever." Hayes nodded. "I have been preparing for this my whole life, even though I did not know it. Every time I studied Earth culture, every time I read their books or watched their films, I was preparing. Now the moment is here and I am terrified." "Terrified?" Palmer looked at her. "Why?" "Because we could get this wrong," Hayes said. "We could approach them the wrong way, say the wrong things, and trigger a panic that destroys their civilization. Or we could succeed and they join the galaxy, and 50 years from now someone looks back and blames us for everything that went wrong. The responsibility is enormous." Foster put a hand on her shoulder. "That is why you were chosen. Because you understand the weight of this. Because you will be careful and thoughtful, because you care about getting it right." Crawford walked to the window and looked out at the vastness of space. Somewhere out there, beyond the veil, Earth continued its orbit. Humans went to work, children went to school, families ate dinner together. They had no idea that above them, watching them, a decision had been made that would change everything. "How do we even begin?" Morris asked. "How do you tell an entire planet that everything they believe about the universe is wrong?" "Carefully," Hayes said. "Very, very carefully. We start small. We contact their leaders first, show them proof, let them process the information. Then we expand the revelation gradually. We do not dump everything on them at once. We give them time to adjust, to ask questions, to understand." "And if they react badly?" Palmer asked. "If they panic or attack?" "Then we retreat and try again later," Foster said. "We have time. The veil is not collapsing tomorrow. We can afford to be patient." Bennett pulled up a display showing Earth. "I have been studying their reaction patterns to major revelations. Humans are remarkably adaptable when given time and information. They adjust to new realities faster than most species. Yes, there will be fear and confusion. Yes, some will resist. But humans are curious. They want to know. They want to understand. That curiosity will win out eventually." Crawford smiled. "You sound like you have confidence in them." "I do," Bennett said. "I have watched them for 2 weeks now. I have seen their resilience, their creativity, their determination. They are special. The galaxy does not know it yet, but humans are going to change everything." Over the next few days, preparations began. Hayes selected her team carefully. Pilot Linda Warren, who had grown up on a merchant vessel and knew how to navigate first-contact situations. Cultural specialist Greg Sullivan, who had studied Earth for years and could help bridge the gap between human and alien thinking. And representatives from a dozen other species, each chosen for their patience, wisdom, and ability to communicate. The team trained constantly. They practiced their first message 100 times, refining every word. They prepared responses to every possible question. They studied Earth's languages, cultures, and social structures. They built simulations of how humans might react and planned for every scenario. Meanwhile, Crawford and his crew continued their observation of Earth. They watched and learned. They saw humans at their best and their worst. They saw acts of kindness and acts of cruelty. They saw innovation and stagnation. They saw hope and despair. And through it all, they saw a species that refused to give up, no matter how bad things became. One evening, Crawford was in his quarters reviewing reports when Morris came to see him. She looked troubled. "Captain, I have been thinking about what happens after contact. Assuming it goes well, assuming the humans accept the truth and want to join the galactic community, what comes next? They are so far behind technologically. It will take them decades, maybe centuries, to catch up. How do we help them without destroying their independence?" Crawford had been thinking about the same thing. "We do what we have always done with developing species. We share knowledge slowly. We let them advance at their own pace. We give them tools but let them figure out how to use them. The worst thing we could do is hand them advanced technology before they understand the responsibility that comes with it." "But what if others do not have the same patience?" Morris asked. "What if merchant corporations see Earth as a new market to exploit? What if military powers see humans as potential soldiers to recruit? What if criminals see them as easy victims? We can set rules, but not everyone follows rules." "That is why we need to prepare the humans carefully," Crawford said. "They need to understand the galaxy they are joining. It is not a paradise. It has dangers and challenges, but it also has opportunities and wonders. If we are honest with them from the start, if we help them develop the strength to protect themselves, they will be fine." Morris nodded, but she still looked worried. Crawford understood. The responsibility they all felt was immense. They were not just making contact with Earth. They were shepherding an entire species into a new age. The decisions they made now would echo for generations. As the month passed, the moment of contact drew closer. Hayes and her team were as ready as they would ever be. The message had been written and rewritten. The proof had been prepared. The invitation had been carefully worded to be welcoming but not threatening. On the day before contact, Crawford stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and looked at Earth one last time before everything changed. The planet was beautiful in its simplicity. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land masses. It looked peaceful from space, even though he knew that down on the surface, conflicts raged and problems existed. "Tomorrow," Bennett said, standing beside him. "Tomorrow we send the message." "Are you ready?" Crawford asked. "No," Bennett admitted. "But I do not think anyone could ever truly be ready for this. We are about to introduce an entire species to the galaxy. How do you prepare for that?" "You trust in the process," Crawford said. "You trust in the people making contact, and you trust in the humans themselves. They have survived everything their planet has thrown at them. They will survive this too." The next day, Hayes and her team boarded the diplomatic vessel Pathfinder. It was smaller than the Unity but still impressive, designed specifically for sensitive missions like this one. The ship positioned itself in Earth's orbital space, close enough to be detected but far enough to not be seen as threatening. Then they sent the message. It went out on every frequency humans used for communication. It appeared on government networks, military channels, and scientific databases. The message was simple and direct. To the people of Earth, you are not alone. We represent the Galactic Council, an organization of intelligent species from across the galaxy. We come in peace. We bring knowledge of the wider universe and an invitation to join us. We know this revelation will be shocking. We ask only that you consider our words carefully. We are willing to prove our existence and answer your questions. When you are ready, we invite your leaders to meet with us. The choice is yours. The message included coordinates for a neutral meeting place, instructions for secure communication, and evidence of extraterrestrial technology that could not be faked. It offered proof without demanding belief. It invited dialogue without forcing it. And then they waited. On Earth, Crawford imagined, chaos was erupting. Governments were scrambling to verify the message. Scientists were analyzing the evidence. Military forces were going on alert. News was spreading across the internet at incredible speed. Billions of humans were learning all at once that they were not alone in the universe. Crawford wondered how many of them were afraid, how many were excited, how many refused to believe, how many immediately accepted the truth. The next few hours would determine everything. If the humans responded with weapons, if they attacked out of fear, it would set a terrible precedent. But if they responded with curiosity, with a desire to understand, then there was hope. 3 hours after the message was sent, a response came back. It was not from a single government, but from a hastily assembled coalition of nations. The message was brief: we need to verify your claims. We need proof that cannot be dismissed or explained away. If you are real, show us. Hayes smiled when she read it. They are being cautious. That is good. It means they are thinking carefully. She sent back a second message, this time with more detailed proof. Images of Earth taken from space with technology humans did not possess. Analysis of human DNA that showed understanding beyond their current science. Mathematical proofs of concepts they had not yet discovered. And an offer to perform a demonstration they could observe directly. Another wait. Longer this time. On Earth, Crawford knew, leaders were meeting. Experts were being consulted. Decisions were being made that would affect the entire future of humanity. Finally, after 5 hours, a new message arrived. It was longer this time, more formal. It came from the United Nations, representing most of Earth's governments. They acknowledged the evidence. They expressed cautious interest. And they accepted the invitation to meet with conditions. The meeting would be in neutral space. A small delegation would attend. They would come prepared to defend themselves if necessary, but they would come peacefully if possible. Hayes read the message aloud to her team. When she finished, there was silence. Then Foster started laughing. They are bargaining. Even now, facing the unknown, they are negotiating terms. That is so beautifully human. The meeting was scheduled for 1 week later, giving both sides time to prepare. Earth needed to build a suitable spacecraft and select delegates. The Council needed to prepare the meeting facility and brief all participants on proper protocols. During that week, Crawford watched as Earth transformed. The news of alien contact dominated every form of media. Reactions ranged from terror to joy, from denial to acceptance. Religious leaders struggled to reconcile the revelation with their beliefs. Scientists rushed to verify the evidence. Politicians argued about how to proceed. And ordinary people, billions of them, tried to understand what this meant for their lives. But what impressed Crawford most was that despite the chaos, despite the fear and uncertainty, Earth did not fall apart. Their governments continued to function. Their societies remained stable. People went to work, schools stayed open, and life continued. The humans were adjusting, and they were doing it remarkably well. On the day of the meeting, Crawford watched from the horizon's edge as a small ship launched from Earth. It was primitive by galactic standards, barely capable of reaching the meeting coordinates. But it represented everything humans had achieved on their own, and there was pride in that accomplishment. The ship docked with the Pathfinder, and for the first time in 10,000 years, humans from Earth met humans from the stars. Crawford wished he could be there to see it, but this moment belonged to others. His role was to observe and record, to witness history being made. The meeting lasted for hours. When it ended, Hayes sent a brief message to Crawford: "First contact successful. They are scared but brave, curious but cautious. This is going to work." Crawford smiled. The age of human isolation was over. The age of humanity in the galaxy was beginning. And somehow, against all odds, it was going to be okay. The meeting room aboard the Pathfinder was designed to put visitors at ease. Soft lighting cast a warm glow across the curved walls. The furniture was simple and comfortable. Large windows showed the stars outside, a reminder of the vast universe that surrounded them. But despite the careful design, tension filled the air like electricity before a storm. Dr. Claire Dixon sat at the table with her hands clasped tightly together. She was the head of NASA's astrobiological division and had spent her entire career searching for signs of alien life. Now, faced with actual aliens, she found herself struggling to process the reality. Beside her sat General Marcus Stone. his military bearing evident even in his stillness. His eyes constantly scanned the room, assessing threats, planning responses. Senator Patricia Wells represented the political leadership, her diplomatic experience barely concealing her nervousness. Dr. Vincent Chang, a physicist from Beijing, kept adjusting his glasses as he stared at the beings across from them. And Ambassador Carlos Rivera from Brazil sat with his notepad ready, prepared to document every word of this historic encounter. Across the table sat the delegation from the galaxy. Commander Jake Phillips led them, his human appearance both comforting and deeply unsettling to the Earth delegation. He looked like he could be anyone's neighbor, but he spoke of growing up on alien worlds among creatures from across the stars. Beside him was Ambassador Quinn Hayes, another human from the diaspora, her eyes showing the weight of the moment. Dr. Raymond Foster sat next to her, his expression earnest and hopeful. And then there were the others. A Lyrian whose skin shifted colors with his emotions. A Zentari whose multiple limbs moved in patterns that seemed almost like dance. A crystalline being whose name the humans could not pronounce, who spoke through musical tones that were translated by computer. The silence stretched for long seconds. Finally, Dixon spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "You are human. How is that possible? Where did you come from?" Phillips leaned forward, his expression gentle. "We do not know all the answers. Over the past century, humans have been found in escape pods at the edges of known space. Infants alone with no explanation of how they got there. We were raised by alien families, grew up in galactic civilization, never knowing where we truly came from. Until now. Until you found Earth," Stone said, his voice hard with suspicion. "How long have you been watching us?" 3 weeks, Hayes answered honestly. "Our explorer ship, the Horizon's Edge, discovered Earth by accident. They were investigating the veil, the barrier that has hidden your world for 10,000 years. When they crossed it, they found you." Wells spoke up, her diplomatic training taking over. "This barrier, this veil, who created it? Why was Earth hidden?" Foster brought up a holographic display that floated in the center of the table. Images appeared, showing ancient star maps and historical records. "We believe it was created during the last great galactic war, thousands of years ago. The records from that time are incomplete, destroyed in the conflict. But we think a faction existed that wanted to protect Earth, to hide it until the galaxy was ready." "Ready for what?" Chang asked, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "Ready for humanity," Hayes said simply. "Ready for a species that developed differently from every other known civilization. You see, every other species in the galaxy learned technology from someone else. When they achieved space travel, they found ruins, artifacts, abandoned stations. They built on the foundations of those who came before, but Earth had nothing. You started from zero and built everything yourselves." Dixon's eyes widened. "You are saying we are unique? That our isolation made us different?" "Profoundly different," Foster said, his enthusiasm showing. "Your rate of technological advancement is unprecedented. Your adaptability is extraordinary. Your creativity is unlike anything we have seen. Most species take thousands of years to go from basic agriculture to space travel. You did it in 10,000 years, and most of that progress happened in the last 200 years. Stone was not convinced. Different could mean dangerous. "You have seen our history. You know what we are capable of. Why would you want us in your galaxy?" The crystalline being spoke, its voice translated into melodic English. "Every species has a violent past. War is not unique to humanity. What matters is not where you have been, but where you are going. And from what we have observed, humanity is moving toward something remarkable." Rivera had been taking notes throughout the exchange. Now he looked up, his expression thoughtful. "You mentioned the veil is failing. What happens when it collapses completely?" "Earth becomes visible to everyone," Phillips said. "Ships will detect your world. Some will be explorers like us, curious and peaceful. Others might be merchants looking for new markets, not all of them ethical. Some might be pirates or worse. The galaxy is vast and not everyone in it has good intentions." "So we have no choice," Wells said, her voice sharp. "Join you or face whatever comes through that failing barrier on our own." Hayes shook her head firmly. "You have a choice. We can help you strengthen your defenses. We can share technology that will protect you. We can establish Earth as an independent world under galactic law, protected but separate. You do not have to join the Galactic Council, but you deserve to know what exists beyond your world. You deserve the chance to make an informed decision." The Earth delegation looked at each other. Unspoken communication passed between them. Finally, Dixon spoke. "We need proof, real proof. Something that cannot be denied or explained away. Show us the galaxy is real," Foster smiled. "We were hoping you would ask." He gestured to the windows. Outside, space seemed to shimmer. Then ships appeared, dozens of them materializing from faster-than-light travel. They came in every shape and size imaginable: sleek science vessels, massive cargo haulers, elegant diplomatic cruisers. Each one represented a different species, a different world, a different culture. "These are representatives from across the galaxy," Hayes said. "They came to welcome you, to show you that you are not alone and never have been." Chang stood up and walked to the window, his face pressed against the glass like a child seeing snow for the first time. "It is real, all of it. We are not alone." Stone remained skeptical. "This could be a trick, advanced holographic technology staged to convince us." Phillips nodded in understanding. "You are right to be cautious, General. Trust must be earned." "What would convince you?" Stone considered. "Take me to one of those ships. Let me touch it, examine it, verify it is real. Give me access to your technology so our scientists can study it. Prove that what you are showing us is not an elaborate deception." "Agreed," Phillips said without hesitation. "You can inspect any ship in the fleet. You can take samples, run tests, ask questions. We want you to be certain. This is too important for doubt." Over the next several hours, the Earth delegation was taken on tour of various ships. They met aliens from a dozen different species. They touched alien technology with their own hands. They saw star maps showing thousands of inhabited worlds. They witnessed demonstrations of technology that seemed like magic but was simply advanced science. By the time they returned to the Pathfinder, even Stone's skepticism had been shaken. The meeting reconvened, but the atmosphere had changed. The Earth delegation had seen proof they could not deny. Now the conversation shifted from whether to believe to what to do next. "Our governments will need time to process this," Wells said. "We cannot make decisions for all of humanity in a single afternoon. We need to consult with our leaders, our people, our experts." "We understand," Hayes said. "Take all the time you need. But while you deliberate, we should discuss practical matters. The veil will collapse within 5 years. Earth needs to prepare." "Prepare how?" Rivera asked. Foster brought up new displays. "First, defense. You need the ability to detect incoming ships and protect your world from potential threats. Second, communication. You need to establish protocols for interacting with alien species. Third, technology. You need to advance your capabilities so you are not completely dependent on others. And fourth, unity. A divided Earth will struggle in galactic politics." "Unity?" Stone repeated with a bitter laugh. "You ask for the impossible. Earth has been divided since the beginning of civilization. We have tried for unity and failed repeatedly." The Lyrian spoke, his skin shifting to a calming blue. "No one expects instant unity, but common external challenges have a way of bringing people together. Learning that you are part of a galactic community might provide the motivation that internal conflicts could not." Dixon had been quiet, processing everything. Now she spoke, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I have questions about the humans in the diaspora. You said you were found as infants in escape pods. That means someone sent you away from Earth. Someone knew how to leave our solar system even though our official history says we have never achieved that capability. Who were they? Why did they send babies into space?" A heavy silence fell over the room. Phillips and Hayes exchanged glances. Finally, Hayes spoke. "We do not know. That is the truth. It is one of the great mysteries we hoped finding Earth would solve. Our theory is that at some point in your past, maybe centuries ago, a group of humans discovered the veil. Perhaps they found a way through it. Perhaps they sent children into the galaxy hoping they would survive and find help. But we have no proof, no records, no evidence. It is just a theory." "Or," Stone said slowly, "someone from the galaxy came to Earth before, took human children and scattered them across space. Maybe this whole thing is not as benevolent as you claim." The accusation hung in the air. Foster responded carefully. "That is possible, General. We cannot rule it out. But if that were true, why would those children be abandoned in escape pods on the edge of space? Why not keep them, study them, use them? The evidence suggests they were being saved, not stolen. Chang spoke up, his analytical mind working through the implications. If humans have been leaving Earth for over a century, even in small numbers, that suggests the veil has been permeable for longer than you thought. It has been failing slowly, not all at once, which means Earth has been gradually becoming visible. You are right, Phillips said, clearly impressed. That is an excellent deduction. The veil has been degrading for at least 100 years, maybe longer. The humans found in escape pods might have been sent by groups who discovered the weakness and tried to make contact with the galaxy. Or escape from Earth, Wells suggested. Perhaps they were fleeing persecution, war, or disaster. Perhaps they hoped their children would find a better life among the stars. Dixon leaned back in her chair, overwhelmed. This is so much to process. We came here expecting answers, and we are leaving with more questions. Hayes smiled sympathetically. That is the nature of first contact. Every answer reveals new mysteries, but you are not alone in seeking those answers anymore. We can search for the truth together. The meeting continued for several more hours. They discussed logistics, timelines, and protocols. The Earth delegation would return home with evidence and documentation. They would brief their governments. Within 1 month, a larger conference would be held with representatives from all major Earth nations. The Galactic Council would send advisors to help Earth prepare for the veil's collapse, and in the meantime, the Horizon's Edge would remain on station, observing and protecting Earth from any threats. As the meeting finally drew to a close, Rivera asked one last question. What do you need from us? You are offering us technology, protection, knowledge. What does the galaxy want in return? Phillips answered with complete honesty. Nothing, at least not now. Eventually, if Earth chooses to join the galactic community, you will contribute as all members do. You will share your knowledge, your resources, your perspectives. But there is no debt here. We are not helping you because we expect payment. We are helping you because it is the right thing to do, and because we believe humanity has something valuable to offer the galaxy, even if we do not yet know what that is. Stone remained suspicious, but Wells seemed moved by the response. We will need that sentiment in writing, with formal agreements and legal protections. Absolutely, Hayes agreed. We will draft a treaty that protects Earth's sovereignty and ensures you cannot be exploited. You will have full control over your own development and the right to refuse any galactic involvement you do not want. The Earth delegation prepared to leave. As they gathered their materials and said their farewells, Dixon approached Hayes privately. Can I ask you something personal? Of course, Hayes said. Do you ever wish you had grown up on Earth? Do you regret being raised among aliens instead of among your own people? Hayes considered the question carefully. I used to wonder what my life would have been like on Earth, but I cannot regret the life I have had. I have seen wonders that Earth-bound humans cannot imagine. I have friends from a dozen different species. I have learned things that would take lifetimes to discover on one world. And now I get to help bridge 2 worlds. My past brought me here to this moment. I cannot regret that. Dixon nodded slowly. I suppose we are all products of our circumstances. You were shaped by the galaxy. We were shaped by isolation. Perhaps together we can create something better than either alone. I believe we can, Hayes said. I truly believe we can. The Earth delegation returned to their ship. As they departed, Philip stood with his team, watching the primitive vessel accelerate toward Earth. That went better than I expected, he said. They are scared but rational, Foster observed. That is a good combination. Fear will make them cautious. Rationality will help them make good decisions. Linda Warren, the pilot who had remained quiet during most of the meeting, spoke up. What happens if Earth's governments cannot agree? What if some nations want to join the galaxy and others refuse? Then we work with those who are willing and respect those who are not, Hayes said. We cannot force unity. We can only offer opportunity and hope it is accepted. Over the following weeks, Earth transformed. The news of alien contact spread across the planet at the speed of light. Every news channel, every website, every conversation centered on one topic. We are not alone. The reactions were as diverse as humanity itself. In some places, there was celebration. Scientists who had dedicated their lives to searching for extraterrestrial life felt vindicated. Dreamers who had always believed in aliens felt hopeful. Young people who saw the galaxy as a great adventure felt excited about the future. In other places, there was fear. Religious communities struggled to reconcile the revelation with their beliefs. Some adapted, finding ways to incorporate the new knowledge into their faith. Others rejected it entirely, claiming it was a deception or a test. Governments worried about losing sovereignty. Military leaders prepared for potential invasion. Economists feared the disruption of global markets, and in still other places there was simply confusion. Ordinary people trying to go about their lives found everything they thought they knew turned upside down. The universe was bigger, stranger, and more complex than they had imagined. But through it all, humanity endured. Society did not collapse. Civilization continued. People adapted as they always had to new realities, and slowly a consensus began to emerge. Earth needed to prepare. Earth needed to unite, at least enough to present a coherent face to the galaxy. Earth needed help. The second conference was held 1 month later as promised. This time, representatives from over 100 nations attended. It was held on a specially constructed station in lunar orbit, built by galactic engineers in just 2 weeks as a demonstration of their technology. The station was large enough to house thousands of delegates and equipped with translation systems that could handle hundreds of languages simultaneously. Commander Phillips opened the conference with a simple statement. "Welcome to the larger universe. We are here to help you find your place in it." What followed was weeks of intense negotiation, debate, and discussion. Earth's governments had thousands of questions. How would galactic law affect Earth's sovereignty? What technologies would be shared? How would trade work? What protections would Earth have against exploitation? What responsibilities would come with galactic membership? The Galactic Council sent its best diplomats, legal experts, and cultural advisors. They worked patiently with the Earth delegates, answering questions, addressing concerns, and drafting agreements. Slowly, painfully, a framework began to emerge. Earth would be recognized as an independent sovereign world. No galactic species could claim territory on Earth or exploit Earth's resources without permission. Earth would have the right to control access to its system and set its own laws. In exchange, Earth would agree to basic galactic regulations. No development of planet-destroying weapons, no aggressive expansion into systems claimed by other species, and no interference with primitive civilizations if Earth discovered any. Technology transfer would be gradual and controlled. The galaxy would share defensive technologies immediately to protect Earth from potential threats. Communication and translation systems would be provided to facilitate dialogue. Medical knowledge would be shared to help eliminate diseases and extend human lifespans. But more advanced technologies, especially weapons and faster-than-light travel, would be transferred slowly as Earth demonstrated the wisdom to use them responsibly. Trade would be regulated through the Galactic Commerce Authority. Earth could export goods and resources, but protections would prevent economic exploitation. Earth's markets would be shielded from disruption while they adjusted to galactic competition. And Earth's cultural heritage would be protected, preventing the homogenization that had destroyed the uniqueness of some developing worlds. Perhaps most importantly, Earth would have time. The agreement specifically stated that humanity could take decades or even centuries to fully integrate into galactic civilization. There would be no pressure, no demands, no expectations beyond the basic requirements of peaceful coexistence. During one of the breaks in negotiations, General Stone found himself talking with a draconian military commander. The draconian was massive, his scales gleaming in the station's light, his claws capable of rending metal. Yet he spoke with surprising gentleness. "You do not trust us," the draconian said. It was not a question. "I trust actions, not words," Stone replied. "You offer friendship now, but what happens in 10 years, 20, 100? When Earth has something you want, will you still be friendly?" The draconian made a rumbling sound that the translator rendered as laughter. "You think like a warrior, that is good. A species needs warriors to survive. But understand this. The galaxy has been stable for over 1,000 years precisely because we learned that conquest is more expensive than cooperation. We could take Earth by force if we wished. Our technology is vastly superior. But what would we gain? A hostile population that would resist forever, resources we could obtain more cheaply through trade. It is not morality that protects you, human. It is simple economics and self-interest. Stone found the honesty refreshing. At least you are honest about it. Honesty builds trust better than pretty lies, the Draconian agreed. We will work together not because we are friends, but because cooperation benefits both of us. Perhaps, in time, friendship will grow from that foundation. But for now, mutual advantage is enough. Meanwhile, Dr. Dixon was having her own conversations with galactic scientists. They shared data on hundreds of alien species, each with unique biologies and evolutionary paths. She learned about life based on silicon instead of carbon, organisms that lived in the vacuum of space, and consciousnesses that existed as pure energy. Her understanding of biology expanded exponentially. Your species fascinates us, a Zentari biologist told her. Your endurance, your adaptability, your resilience. We have been studying the data from Earth, and humans are extraordinary survivors. You can function in extreme heat and cold. You can survive injuries that would kill most species. You can adapt to almost any environment. This is rare in the galaxy. Dixon felt a surge of pride. We had to adapt. Earth is not a gentle world. It has ice ages and volcanic eruptions, floods and droughts, diseases and predators. We survived because we learned to be tough. And that toughness will serve you well in the galaxy, the Zentari said. Space is harsh. Colonies fail, disasters happen, species that cannot adapt die out. But humans, I think humans will thrive. Senator Wells spent her time building relationships with other political leaders. She learned about the intricate balance of power in the Galactic Council, the alliances and rivalries that shaped galactic politics. She discovered that while the Council promoted peace, conflicts still occurred. Border disputes, trade disagreements, and cultural clashes were constant challenges. The galaxy is not a utopia, a Lyrian diplomat explained to her. We have problems just like Earth, but we solve them through dialogue rather than war, most of the time. The key is that everyone benefits more from cooperation than conflict. When that balance is maintained, peace is possible. Wells understood. So Earth needs to find its niche. We need to offer something valuable that makes others want us as partners rather than competitors. Exactly, the Lyrian said, and I think humanity already has something valuable to offer. What is that? Wells asked. A fresh perspective. The galaxy has become comfortable, predictable, even stagnant in some ways. Humanity thinks differently because you develop differently. You ask questions we stopped asking centuries ago. You see solutions we overlooked. That perspective is valuable. Nurture it, protect it. Do not let galactic culture erase what makes humanity unique. As the conference progressed, something unexpected happened. The Earth delegates began to unite. Nations that had been rivals for centuries found common ground in facing the galaxy together. Old conflicts seemed petty compared to the vast challenges ahead. Slowly, painfully, humanity started to speak with a more unified voice. It was not perfect unity. Disagreements remained. Some nations wanted rapid integration into galactic society. Others wanted slower, more cautious engagement. Some saw the galaxy as an opportunity. Others saw it as a threat. But they agreed on the essentials. Earth would remain independent, Earth would control its own destiny, and Earth would face the galaxy as a united species, or at least as united as humanity could manage. Near the end of the conference, Ambassador Hayes addressed the assembled delegates. I have watched this process with amazement and pride. Pride because you are my people, even though I did not grow up among you. Amazement because you have accomplished in weeks what some species take years to achieve. You have set aside your differences, at least partially, to focus on your common interests. That is remarkable. She paused, looking out at the hundreds of faces watching her. Humans of every ethnicity, nationality, and background. The galaxy is waiting to see what humanity will become. Some expect you to fail, to tear yourselves apart under the pressure. Others hope you will succeed and bring new vitality to galactic civilization. But here is what I know. Humanity has survived everything Earth could throw at you. Ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, wars, famines. You have faced extinction repeatedly and always found a way to continue. The galaxy is just another challenge. And I believe with every fiber of my being that you will not just survive it, you will thrive in it. The delegates rose to their feet, applauding. It was not just agreement with her words. It was recognition of shared destiny, shared purpose, shared humanity. In that moment, the people of Earth truly became a single species looking outward to the stars. The conference concluded with the signing of the Earth Accords, a comprehensive treaty that defined Earth's relationship with the galaxy. Every nation on Earth ratified it, some enthusiastically, others reluctantly, but all recognized its necessity. Earth was officially recognized as an independent sovereign world under galactic protection. The Veil's collapse would not leave Earth vulnerable. The galaxy would help defend their newly discovered cousins. As the delegates prepared to return home, Dr. Chang approached Commander Phillips with a question that had been bothering him. You have shown us incredible technology, ships that travel faster than light, energy shields, medical devices that can heal wounds in minutes. But you are holding back the most advanced technology. Why? Phillips smiled. Because technology without wisdom is dangerous. If we gave Earth every technology we possess right now, what would happen? Nations would use it to gain advantage over each other. Corporations would exploit it for profit without considering consequences. Individuals would misuse it. The galaxy learned through painful experience that advancement must be matched with maturity. Share what you are ready to handle and withhold what you are not to control you but to protect you from yourselves. So we are children in your eyes, Chang said, a hint of resentment in his voice. No, Phillips said firmly. You are a young species with immense potential. There is a difference. Children need to be controlled. Young species need to be guided. We offer guidance, not control. Earth will make its own choices and its own mistakes. We simply try to prevent the mistakes from being fatal. Chang considered this. Fair enough. I suppose we would do the same if the situation were reversed. I know you would, Phillips said. I have been observing humanity for weeks now. You are cautious with power most of the time. You understand consequences. You learn from failures. These are signs of wisdom, even if that wisdom is still developing. Over the following months, Earth transformed in visible ways. Galactic advisors arrived to help establish defensive systems. Satellites with advanced sensors were placed in orbit, capable of detecting incoming ships from light years away. Communication relays were installed, connecting Earth to the galactic network. Trade began, cautiously at first, with Earth exporting art, culture, and unique biological materials in exchange for technology and knowledge. But the most profound changes were invisible. Humanity's understanding of its place in the universe shifted fundamentally. Philosophers grappled with new questions about meaning and purpose. Religious traditions adapted to incorporate the reality of alien life. Scientists rushed to learn everything they could about galactic knowledge, while also recognizing that Earth's unique developmental path gave them perspectives the galaxy valued. Commander Jake Phillips and his team remained based near Earth, serving as liaison between humanity and the galaxy. They helped navigate cultural misunderstandings, facilitated trade negotiations, and provided advice when requested. But they were careful not to interfere with Earth's internal affairs. Humanity had to find its own path forward. One evening, Philip stood in the observation deck of the Pathfinder looking down at Earth. Hayes joined him, two humans from the stars watching the world of their ancestors. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Phillips asked, revealing everything to them. Hayes was quiet for a moment. "I think we did the only thing we could do. The veil was failing. Contact was inevitable. By making it happen on our terms, peacefully and gradually, we gave them the best chance to adapt successfully. But we changed everything for them," Phillips said. "Their whole civilization is being turned upside down. Some of them will never adjust. Some will be lost, unable to find their place in this new reality." "Change is always painful," Hayes agreed. "But stagnation is death." Humanity was already changing, already growing, already reaching for the stars. We just accelerated the process. And from what I have seen, they are handling it better than most species would. Phillips nodded. They are remarkable, frustrating sometimes, contradictory often, but always remarkable. The galaxy does not know what it is getting. Hayes laughed. No, it really does not, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. Below them on Earth, billions of humans slept, worked, loved, fought, and dreamed. They dreamed of distant stars and alien worlds. They dreamed of adventures in the vast cosmos. They dreamed of a future where humanity was not alone but part of something greater. The age of isolation was over. The age of humanity among the stars had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the Earth Accords were signed, the first human delegation traveled to Unity Station to attend a session of the Galactic Council. It was a historic moment, broadcast across Earth to billions of viewers. The delegation was led by Ambassador Rivera, who had impressed the galactic diplomats with his skill during the negotiations. With him came representatives from all major regions of Earth, showing the united front humanity had managed to achieve. The journey itself was an adventure. Earth's ships were still primitive compared to galactic vessels, so the delegation traveled aboard a galactic transport. The ship achieved faster than light speed, and for the first time, humans from Earth experienced the strange sensation of watching the stars blur and shift as reality bent around them. Dr. Dixon spent the entire journey glued to the observation windows, tears streaming down her face as she witnessed what she had dreamed about her entire life. Unity Station was overwhelming in its scale and diversity. The station housed over 50,000 beings from across the galaxy. Markets sold goods from 1,000 worlds. Restaurants served food that humans could not identify. Languages both spoken and telepathic filled the air. And everywhere, aliens of every description went about their business, paying little attention to the newest members of galactic civilization. General Stone's security team stayed close to the delegation, nervous about potential threats. But as hours passed and nothing dangerous happened, even they began to relax. The galaxy was strange, but it was not hostile, at least not here in the heart of galactic government. The delegation was given quarters in the diplomatic section of the station. That evening, before the council session, they gathered to prepare. Rivera looked at his team, seeing the mix of excitement and nervousness on their faces. Tomorrow, we speak before the Galactic Council for the first time, he said. We represent not just our governments, but all of humanity. Every word we say will be analyzed and interpreted. We must be careful, thoughtful, and above all, honest. The galaxy needs to see us as we truly are. And what are we truly? Asked Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a Japanese philosopher who had been added to the delegation. What does humanity bring to the galaxy that no other species offers? Senator Wells smiled. Hope. We bring hope. We are proof that isolation does not mean stagnation, that a species can develop on its own and still reach for the stars. We are different because we had to be, and that difference is our strength. The next day, the delegation entered the council chamber. The room was vast, with seating for representatives from all 73 member species. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing real-time translations in hundreds of languages. At the center stood the speaker's platform where Velcris waited, his crystalline form glowing softly. We welcome the delegation from Earth, Velcris announced, his voice carrying through the chamber. For 10,000 years, humanity developed in isolation. Today, they join us as equals. Earth's representative will now address the council. Rivera walked to the platform. He had prepared a speech, worked on it for weeks, gotten input from dozens of advisors. But standing there, looking out at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization, he set his notes aside and spoke from his heart. Thank you for welcoming us, he began. We come before you as a young species, still learning, still growing, still making mistakes. We do not have the wisdom of ages like some of you. We have not mastered technologies that seem like magic to us. We are, in many ways, children taking our first steps into a much larger world. He paused, letting his words sink in. But we are not helpless children. We are survivors. We are dreamers. We are builders. For thousands of years, we looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone. We built telescopes and sent signals into space. We wrote stories about meeting aliens and traveling to other worlds. We never stopped hoping, never stopped searching, never stopped reaching upward. Rivera's voice grew stronger. Now we know the truth. We are not alone. The universe is filled with life and wonder and possibility. This knowledge changes everything for us. Our religions must adapt. Our philosophies must expand. Our understanding of our place in existence must be rebuilt from the ground up. But we welcome this change. We embrace it, because humanity has never been afraid of change. Change is how we survive. Change is how we grow. He looked directly at some of the representatives who had expressed doubts about humanity. Some of you worry that we are too violent, too fractured, too primitive. You look at our history and see war and destruction. You are right to be concerned. We have done terrible things to each other and to our world. We carry scars from our past, and those scars will take time to heal. But look also at what we have overcome. We have survived ice ages and plagues. We have rebuilt after devastating wars. We have learned from our mistakes slowly, painfully, but we have learned. And we are still fighting, still hoping, still reaching for something better. Rivera's voice softened. We do not ask for special treatment. We do not ask you to trust us blindly. We ask only for the opportunity to prove ourselves. Give us time to grow. Give us guidance when we need it. And give us the chance to show you what humanity can become when we have the galaxy as our classroom and the stars as our destination. When he finished, silence filled the chamber. Then slowly, representatives began to signal their approval in the various ways their species indicated agreement. The Lyrians shifted their skin to bright, happy colors. The Draconians tapped their claws against their seats in rhythmic approval. The crystalline beings chimed in harmonious tones. Even the most skeptical representatives showed respect for the honesty and humility of Rivera's words. Velcris spoke again. Earth has spoken well. The Council recognizes humanity as a developing member of galactic civilization. You will have all the rights and protections that status entails. Welcome, humans. Welcome to the galaxy. The formal session ended, but the real work was just beginning. Over the following days, the Earth delegation met with representatives from dozens of species. They negotiated trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. They discussed educational opportunities for human students to study on alien worlds. They explored military cooperation to help defend Earth from potential threats. And they built relationships, person to person, human to alien, finding common ground despite vast differences. Dr. Dixon spent her time with galactic scientists, learning about discoveries that made her head spin. She saw recordings of life forms that existed in environments humans considered impossible. She studied genetic structures that bore no resemblance to DNA. She learned about evolutionary paths so different from Earth's that they challenged every assumption she had about biology. "Your planet is remarkable," a Zentari researcher told her. "The diversity of life on Earth exceeds most worlds we have studied. Your evolutionary competition created incredible variety. Most worlds have dominant species that eliminate competitors. But Earth has millions of species coexisting, each finding its own niche. This has implications for how humanity evolved. You learn to compete, adapt, and coexist in an environment of constant change. No wonder you are so resilient." General Stone met with military commanders from various species. He learned about galactic security challenges, pirate fleets that raided shipping lanes, rogue colonies that rejected galactic law, and ancient automated defense systems left over from wars thousands of years ago. The galaxy was safer than Earth had ever been, but it was not perfectly safe. "We can help train your forces," a Draconian general offered. "Teach them to use advanced weapons and tactics. In exchange, we would like to study your military history. Human warfare tactics are unique. You fight with an intensity and creativity we rarely see. It would benefit all of us to understand your methods." Stone was cautious but interested. "We would need assurances that this training would not be used to control Earth or interfere with our sovereignty." "Of course," the Draconian agreed. "We want allies, not subjects. Strong allies are more valuable than weak subjects. Help us make you strong and we all benefit." Senator Wells worked on the political front, building alliances with moderate species who shared Earth's values. She discovered that galactic politics was just as complicated as Earth politics, with the same mix of idealism and pragmatism, cooperation and competition. But she also found that many species genuinely wanted to help Earth succeed. "We remember what it was like to be new to the galaxy," a Lyrian senator told her. "The fear, the uncertainty, the feeling of being small and insignificant. We want to make your transition easier than ours was, not out of charity but because we believe humanity will strengthen galactic civilization. You bring something we have lost, the enthusiasm of discovery, the excitement of exploring the unknown. We need that energy." Meanwhile, back on Earth, changes continued at an accelerating pace. The defensive systems provided by the galaxy were installed and made operational. Human technicians trained to maintain and operate them, learning skills that would have taken centuries to develop independently. Communication networks expanded, allowing instant contact between Earth and galactic authorities. And trade began to flow, bringing wealth and opportunity to Earth's economies. But not everyone was happy with the changes. Resistance movements emerged in various countries, groups who saw galactic contact as a threat to human independence. They argued that Earth was being manipulated, that the aliens had ulterior motives, that humanity should reject outside influence and develop on its own. Some of these groups were peaceful protesters. Others turned to violence, attacking galactic facilities and anyone they saw as collaborating with aliens. Commander Phillips found himself dealing with one such incident when a group of extremists tried to sabotage a communication relay in North America. The attackers were stopped before they could do serious damage, but the incident highlighted the challenges Earth faced. "We knew this would happen," Phillips told Hayes as they reviewed the incident report. "Change always creates resistance. Some people cannot adapt. They cling to the old ways and lash out at anything new." "How do we handle it?" Hayes asked. "We cannot use force against humans. That would turn us into exactly what they claim we are, invaders trying to control Earth." "We let Earth handle it," Phillips said. "This is an internal Earth matter. Their governments, their laws, their solutions. We provide security for our facilities, but we do not interfere with how Earth deals with its own citizens. If we start acting like we are in charge, we prove the extremists right." The strategy worked mostly. Earth's governments dealt with the resistance movements through a combination of law enforcement and dialogue. They addressed legitimate concerns about galactic influence while firmly opposing violence. And gradually, as months passed and the promised disasters did not materialize, support for the resistance weakened. Most humans could see that galactic contact was bringing benefits, not harm. 1 year after first contact, Earth celebrated what was now called Unity Day, the anniversary of the Earth Accords. Cities around the world held festivals featuring both human and alien culture. Galactic visitors walked openly on Earth for the first time, experiencing human civilization firsthand. And humans, millions of them, applied for permits to visit other worlds, eager to explore the galaxy they had just learned existed. Dr. Dixon was among the first humans to visit an alien world. She traveled to Lyria, the homeworld of the color-changing species who had been so welcoming to humanity. The planet was beautiful, with forests that grew in spirals and oceans that glowed with bioluminescent life. She spent weeks there, studying their biology and sharing her knowledge of Earth life in return. "You are lucky," her Lyrian host told her, "to be alive at this moment in your species' history, to be part of the generation that bridges two eras. Children born now will never know a time when Earth was alone, but you remember. You experienced both worlds. That makes you special." Dixon nodded, understanding the weight of that truth. "We are witnesses to the greatest transformation in human history. Everything that comes after, all of humanity's achievements in the galaxy, all of it starts with us, with this moment." General Stone took a different path. He enrolled in a military training program offered by the Draconians. For 6 months, he lived on their colony world, learning advanced tactics and strategy. It was humbling to be a student again at his age, but he recognized the value of the knowledge being offered. His draconian instructors were impressed by his adaptability. "You learn fast," his trainer told him. "Faster than most species. Is this common among humans? We have to learn fast," Stone replied. "On Earth, the species that could not adapt went extinct. We learned to change or die. It is built into us now." The draconian considered this. "Then you will do well in the galaxy. Change is constant here too. Species that cannot adapt fail. But humans, I think humans will thrive." Back on Unity Station, Ambassador Rivera had become a fixture in diplomatic circles. He worked tirelessly to build relationships and represent Earth's interests. His honesty and straightforward manner won respect even from species that had initially been skeptical of humanity. During one informal gathering, he found himself talking with Ambassador Hayes. "I owe you an apology," he said. Hayes looked surprised. "For what?" "When we first met, I doubted you. You were human, but you were also alien. I was not sure whose interests you truly represented, but I was wrong. You have been Earth's strongest advocate. You understand both worlds, and you use that understanding to help us. Thank you," Hayes smiled warmly. "I represent humanity, all of humanity, those raised on Earth and those raised among the stars. We are one species, even if we had different childhoods. Your success is my success. Earth's success is the success of every human in the galaxy." "Do you ever think about going to Earth?" Rivera asked. "Seeing the world where your ancestors lived?" "All the time," Hayes admitted. "I have been invited several times, but I keep putting it off. I think I am afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid that I will not feel at home there, or worse, that I will feel too much at home and not want to leave. I have built a life in the galaxy. I have responsibilities, relationships, a career. What if Earth makes me question all of that?" Rivera understood. "Earth is not going anywhere. When you are ready, it will be waiting. And whatever you discover about yourself, whatever you feel, know that Earth will welcome you. You are one of us, no matter where you grew up." As the first year of contact drew to a close, Captain Crawford prepared to leave his post. The horizon's edge had been on station near Earth for over a year, and it was time to return to regular exploration duties. His crew had watched humanity's transformation with pride and amazement. On his last day, Crawford was invited to Earth for a ceremony. He traveled to New York, where the United Nations held a special session in his honor. Leaders from around the world gathered to thank him for his role in changing human history. "You could have done many things when you found Earth," the UN Secretary General said. "You could have claimed our world for your government. You could have exploited our isolation. You could have treated us as primitives to be controlled. But you did none of those things. You treated us with respect and dignity. You gave us choice. You made first contact everything it should be, peaceful, honest, and beneficial to all. On behalf of all humanity, thank you." Crawford stood before the assembly, humbled by the recognition. "I did what any ethical explorer would do. I found something precious and worked to protect it. But the credit does not belong to me. It belongs to humanity itself. You faced the greatest revelation in your history with courage and wisdom. You adapted when others might have fractured. You reached out when others might have withdrawn. The galaxy is richer for your presence in it." After the ceremony, Crawford took a walk through Central Park. He wanted to experience Earth directly, to see the world that had been hidden for so long. The park was full of people, humans going about their lives. Children played on the grass. Couples walked hand in hand. Street performers entertained crowds. It looked so normal, so ordinary, but Crawford knew better. These people were part of something extraordinary. They were the generation that bridged two ages, the generation that would be remembered forever in human history. An older man sat on a bench nearby, feeding pigeons. He noticed Crawford and smiled. "You are one of them, are not you, from the stars?" Crawford nodded. "I am. How did you know? The way you look at everything, like you are seeing it for the first time. We all looked like that when we learned about the galaxy, full of wonder. It is a good look. I hope we never lose it." "I hope so too," Crawford said. The man was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Is it worth it? Going to the stars, leaving Earth behind?" Crawford thought carefully before answering. "Earth will always be here. It will always be home for humanity. But the galaxy is vast and full of wonders. There are things out there you cannot imagine. Beauty and danger and mystery. Going to the stars does not mean leaving Earth behind. It means taking Earth with you in your heart and sharing it with the galaxy." The old man smiled. "My granddaughter wants to be an astronaut. She wants to visit other worlds. I worry about her going so far from home, but maybe that is what humans are meant to do. Maybe we are meant to wander." "We are explorers," Crawford agreed. "It is in your nature. You cannot change it even if you wanted to. And why would you want to? The galaxy needs explorers, dreamers, wanderers. It needs humanity." As Crawford returned to the horizon's edge that evening, he reflected on everything that had happened. A year ago, Earth had been hidden, isolated, alone. Now it was part of the galactic community, connected to thousands of worlds and billions of beings. The transformation had been swift but successful. Humanity had passed its first test. He stood on the bridge as the ship prepared to depart. Morris was at her station, Palmer was in engineering, Bennett was in her lab. His crew, his friends, ready for their next adventure. But this time when they left, they would not be leaving Earth behind. They would be carrying it with them, representing humanity to the galaxy. "Set course for the Andromeda sector," Crawford ordered. "We have new worlds to explore." As the horizon's edge jumped to faster than light speed, leaving Earth behind, Crawford looked back one last time. The planet glowed blue and green in the darkness, no longer hidden, no longer alone. Humanity's journey had just begun, and whatever challenges lay ahead, Crawford knew that humans would face them the way they had always faced challenges, with courage, determination, and an unshakable belief that tomorrow could be better than today. The age of isolation was truly over. The age of humanity among the stars had begun, and the galaxy would never, ever be the same.